think I'm just going to sit on the floor, guys, because otherwise the camera won't get it. All right, so I'm going to tell you three, and not Jeremy, a tale that is called Why the Sea is Salty. And originally it was a Norwegian fairy tale that was collected by Peter Christian Bjornson and Jørgen Moe. Later in 1889, it was put into a book called The Blue Fairy book by Andrew Lang, and that is that's the version that I'm going to tell to you. One thing you need to know before we start is that the most important thing in this story is called a hand mill. And we don't use hand mills anymore. This is the closest thing to a hand mill that we have in our house.
A cheese grinder?
You're right, this is our cheese grinder. A big mill, not a hand mill, is like a flour mill. So it would be connected to a windmill and it would grind the rocks together. A hand mill is something that would be big enough to put on your back, and it would grind stuff up by using the flowing current of water. But so think about something like this that grinds stuff up as we go. All right? All right. So once upon a time, long, long ago, there were two brothers. One rich brother and one poor one. When Christmas Eve came, the poor brother had not a bite to eat in his house, either meat nor bread. So he went to the rich brother and he begged him, for God's sake, to please give him something for Christmas Day. Now, this was not the first time that the poor brother had asked the rich brother for food, and the rich brother was not very happy about it this time. So he said to the poor brother, if you will do what I promise, if you promise to do what I tell you, then I will give you a whole ham. The poor brother said, yes, thank you. I will do anything you promise. And the rich brother said, I want you to take the ham and go directly, right now, to Dead Man's Hall. Oh, well, I promise, so yes, here, I will go. And the poor brother took the ham and he set off, and he went on through the whole livelong day until at night he came to a spot with a bright light. And he said to himself, oh, I know that this must be the place. And he saw an old man there with a long white beard who was chopping logs. And he stopped and he asked the man, oh, excuse me, sir. Do you know, is this Dead Man's Hall? Am I on the right path? And the old man said, oh, why, yes, this is Dead Man's Hall. And is that a ham that I see in your hand? Yes, it is. Well, if you're taking a ham to Dead Man's Hall, that's something they don't see very often at Dead Man's Hall. They don't get a lot of meat in there. This is what you should do. Offer to trade them the ham. Behind the door is a secret hand mill. Whatever you do, make sure you trade your ham for that hand mill. Then when you come out again, bring it to me and I will show you how to stop it. It is really useful for almost anything that you could imagine. So he said thank you to the man and he left and he knocked on the door of the hall. And it happened just like he had predicted. The people in the hall hadn't seen meat in a very long time, and they all came scouring out to meet him. And they said, oh, please, I will trade for the ham. I will give whatever you want for the ham. And they all came at him like ants on an anthill, crawling to get this ham from him. And he said, well, you know, by rights, this is my ham, and I was going to take it back to my wife for our Christmas dinner, but I see how much all of you want it, so yeah, I guess I will trade for it. But if I do, I want to get that hand mill that's behind the door. Immediately they all started, no, we can't give you that. No, why don't you take this old chicken? Why don't you take these pig feet that we have left over? I'm sure you would like those. But he kept saying no, and he stuck it out, and finally he convinced them to give him the hand mill. And he took the hand mill and left the hall, and he went and saw the old man outside, and the old man taught him how to stop the mill from running. And he ran back to his house as quick as he could across the whole day, but he didn't make it home before midnight on Christmas Eve. And he opened the door, and there his wife was standing. And she says, where have you been? It is Christmas Eve, and I have not even 2 logs to put under the Christmas porridge pot to make it hot. And you're out all day scampering about. He says, wife, don't worry. I've brought back something here that will make up for it. And he puts the mill on the table. And he first makes the mill grind a light. Remember, there's no electricity. So he makes like a candlelight appear by the mill. And he stops it. And then he makes a tablecloth appear from the mill. Remember? Just like this, Sam. And then he makes meat appear, and beer, and everything you would want for a Christmas dinner. And the wife is so happy, and she says, oh, where did you get this machine? This is incredible. He says, nah, it's no matter. Doesn't matter. I mean, you don't need to know that. So for the next 3 days, he sat and made the machine produce all kinds of food and beer and cheese and oatmeal and fish and everything that they like to eat. And he invited all of his friends over for a big Christmas time feast. And one of the people that came was his rich brother. And looking at all of the fancy foods, the brother got really upset and said, 4 days ago, my poor brother came before me with nothing that he owned. I had to give him this ham. How could he have all this riches, enough riches for a count or a king here? So he asks his brother, where did you get all of this? And the poor brother answers, well, behind the door, which is where his hand mill stood. But later, after he had drank a little too much beer, his lips loosened, and he admitted to his brother what had made all of this food. And he pulled out the hand mill and he set it on the table, and he demonstrated to his brother and made sausage, and he made more beer for his brother to drink. And the brother was so impressed, he begged him, he implored him, please, I need to be using this. I need to have this hand mill. Can I take it? And after a while, the poor brother agreed with 2 conditions. He said, you can have the mill and you can take it, but you're going to have to give me a lot of money, $300 for it. And you're not going to get it until after haymaking season is over. Once the hay is ready to be chopped, then you can have it. So the rich brother agreed, and don't imagine that the mill got rusty from not being used in those several months. Every day the poor brother used the mill and produced all kinds of food and clothing that he could keep enough for years and years. So that when he gave the mill to his to the rich brother, he had plenty in his stores, in his cupboard. The rich brother took it one evening, but he didn't learn one important thing: how to turn the mill off. The brother didn't tell him. So he took it home in the evening, and the next morning he said to his wife, "Wife, today you go out into the fields, you cut the hay for the horses, and I will stay at home and tend to dinner. Don't worry, I know every day that you normally make dinner, but tonight I am going to make the dinner for us." And after the wife had gone out into the fields, he took the mill and he put it on the kitchen counter, and he said, "Grind herring and oatmeal, and do it quickly and well." And all of a sudden, fish after fish and bowl after bowl of liquid oatmeal starts pouring out of this machine, and it fills tubs and it fills pots that the guy has. And soon he runs out of pots, and the oatmeal starts pouring onto the floor. And it piles up on the floor and up and up and up until he's suddenly worried. The oatmeal is 4 feet deep in the kitchen, and he's worried he's going to be drowned in a pool of oatmeal. And he half swims to the door and opens it into the parlor. But soon the parlor starts filling up with fish and oatmeal. And it's only luckily that he can get to the door and open the door to get outside of his house before he's drowned in a sea of fishy oatmeal. Now, while that's going on, his wife is out in the field and says, "Boy, it's getting late, and the master, her husband, hasn't called us for dinner yet. I bet he's having trouble cooking dinner. He doesn't really know how to do it. He's never done it before. We should go back and lend him a hand, so we all have something to eat tonight." So they stopped doing their work and they walked back to the house. And as they were walking back to the house, they met a stream of fish and oatmeal pouring across the fields. And at the head of that stream was the husband. And he's screaming, "Oh my goodness, I wish you all had 100,000 stomachs, for only then we would be able to eat all of this food." And he said, oh, please run away, run away. You're going to be drowned in a sea of oatmeal." And he ran off too, and he ran to the poor brother's house. And he begged the poor brother, "Please, please, take the mill back. Take it back. Take it back. I don't want it. Please, and make it stop. I'll give you anything if you make it stop and take it back." So the poor brother waited a little bit, saw that his brother was in distress, and finally agreed for $300 more. And he took it back and he stopped the herring and the oatmeal from coming out. So now the brother had $600 and he had the mill back. And he decided he was just going to keep the mill and do whatever he wanted with it. And very soon he was the richest farmer in the surrounding village. And he decided one day that he was going to take money, make this mill create gold money. And it created so much gold money that he coated his entire farmhouse in gold coin. And the house was right by the sea, right on the cliffs above the sea. And it stood out, the gold reflecting onto the sea all day long. And pretty soon, ships from all around would come by and say, "I want to go visit the golden house and see the magic hand mill." A long, long time went by, and he was very prosperous. And a skipper, a sailor of a ship, came in to see him one day. And the sailor said to him, "Why does that machine, can it grind salt?" And he said, "Yeah, it can grind salt. I mean, I've never had it grind salt before. It grinds everything else. It can grind salt." So the sailor said, "I will give you anything, anything, if I can get that machine to grind salt." Because he said, "I spend my life in a ship over the dangerous, perilous seas, taking salt from different countries and bringing it back here so we can have salted fish for dinner." And after a while haggling and begging, the man finally agreed to sell the hand mill to the sailor for thousands of dollars. So the sailor, being so excited but then worried that the farmer would immediately take the hand mill back, ran away from the house without learning how to turn the mill off. And being worried, he jumped into his boat and he set sail to the open sea. And he said to the mill, "Mill, grind salt, grind it quickly and good." And the mill began to grind salt as it did, and it for hours ground salt and salt and salt until all the stores of the ship were filled up to capacity. And then the sailor said, "Stop grinding," but nothing happened. And he turned the mill one way or the other and nothing happened. And whatever he tried, nothing would work. Till finally so much salt lay in the ship that the ship sank. And down to the bottom of the ocean, the hand mill fell, grinding on and on to this day. And that is why the sea is salt. Thank you.